made it, and welcome to my tea room. Today I am going to be streaming from the Japanese tea fields, and that's one because it's just gorgeous. Hi Cafe Bolwin, good to see you. How do you like my matcha latte? Yeah, I hope you guys are all having a beautiful week so far, getting ready for the big countdown. Although, you know, this year is going to be a little bit different because we're not going to be out on the streets partying and celebrating. We're going to be tucked away at home. It'll be good. It'll be great. I'm looking forward. I'm actually looking forward to eating some soba noodles tomorrow. It's a Japanese custom, actually. So it's been quite a few years since I've had the opportunity of enjoying midnight soba noodles, but I believe this year I will, and all thanks to our good friend Kuni-san from Japan for sending over all of the ingredients that I will need to make some soba noodles at midnight. And what that represents is long noodles signifies long life. So that's why it's kind of a good omen. I think a lot of cultures have different foods that are appropriate and of good fortune to enjoy at the strike of midnight. Hi Marco, good to see you. Happy New Year. This is definitely not going to be my last stream of this year, but is going to be the last tea education / civic engagement stream that I'll be doing, because of course on Thursdays I do stream from the Topia Tea House with our tea talks, meeting with our tea friends from all over the world. Actually, it's a good time. I hope you have a really good new year. Enjoy some good customs, some good fortune, and of course get to spend some time, or at least connect with, even if it's virtually, with the people that you love, to wish them a grand entrance into the coming year. So today is going to be the last Constitution study group because as of next year, during this time slot or day slot, I am going to be doing restorative justice circles. And oh, thank you, Marco. Thanks to you too. Thanks for being a good tea friend and helping keep the tea community together. We gotta keep that flowing for everybody. It's really important. So yeah, starting next week, we're gonna have a different series of round table discussions between different members of our community as well as other members of different communities, and we're going to have different discussions utilizing restorative justice practices that have been in the past applied to criminal justice. Of course, we are not going to be dealing with criminal justice, but we are going to be talking about the ways in which we can affect our culture to encourage more civility between one another, because that's what the Constitution is all about, in fact. So we're just gonna do, we're gonna, instead of studying the past, which we've been doing for the past year or so, we're gonna start talking through experiences, through these roundtable discussions about, in most cases, it's going to be the nuances. It may not be huge structural changes that we'll be talking about, but the things that we can hold ourselves accountable and the people closest to us accountable for, which a lot of times when we're talking about a lack of chivalry, when we're talking about a lack of adequacy in politeness, these are small cultural nuances that a lot of times we don't think about. So we're going to be spending the next several months doing different round circles, sharing our experiences with each other, and seeing how we can scale those ideas up. So I will be spending the last part of this stream talking about how this protocol will be formalized. I have an article to share, which I did. I finally found an article or some type of work around applying restorative justice practices and frameworks to different systems other than criminal justice. And I was looking for it last week. I couldn't find it. So as far as I can tell, we're kind of making history here, doing something unique that is not done at scale. But we want it that way. I would love to see if the world was able to open up the dialogue, to have the conversations to talk about these nuances. So before I get into the article, I am going to do a live review of some brand new matcha samples that just came in. So I'm streaming out from the Japanese tea field from my matcha latte to review these two different teas. So there's two different matchas here. They're actually coming from the same farm and they're coming from the same everything. There's a slight difference in how the teas were processed, how the matcha was processed at the last step of processing. And so Kuni-san and the producers from Matcha Organic Japan had requested if I could provide some feedback on the quality of these two matchas. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with that now. So I know I don't typically do a whole lot of tea education during the Constitution Study Group, but I figured I'd do it today. Round out the year, finish out the year with a bang. So to get started, let's do a review of the powder, the dried powder. It's always best to do this part of an evaluation for matcha using a simple sheet of white paper. White paper comes in very handy when you're evaluating teas because of course you can see all the details and the contrast between the tea and the background when you're using the white paper. So the tea fields that I'm currently in right now are actually not matcha fields. If these were matcha fields, you would be seeing a scaffolding over the tea fields, and that's where the blackout shade material would be installed prior to harvest in the springtime to stop that photosynthesis process from happening during the spring. Of course, we are not in spring, not just yet. It's still kind of cold and rainy and cold and snowy sometimes in the tea fields. So actually the tea fields are dormant right now. So in Japan and most tea growing places, not all tea growing places, but most tea growing places, the tea plants go dormant during the winter time because it just gets so cold, especially in Japan. And this particular place where we are right now is a very beautiful tea growing area of Japan. Is actually the highest elevation growing region of Japan in the Fukuoka area, which is on the southern part of the main island of Japan, in an area called Yame. It's a very high elevation and very cold, but they say it yields a much more strong umami flavor in the tea because of those stresses that are applied to the tea plant during the winter and during the spring as well, actually year round. So if you're having these high degrees of extreme weathers from hot to cold, from day to night, that puts a lot of stress on the plants. And as we talk about over and over again in our tea education, with greater stress and greater challenge comes a sweeter product. Enjoying some nice relaxing Japanese lo-fi like music. So I'm just opening my 2 packs. These are brand new. These just got to me. And we will be selling these grades of tea. And this is all coming from Matcha Organic Japan, which if you remember from our small tea grower festival that we hosted on Small Business Saturday, they are a brand new project. This year, 2020, was their very first year to harvest. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this view here so you guys can see. So this is the number 31. I'm just gonna put a little mound of the matcha on the white paper. All right, so we got the 31 and the 32 here. I have no other description of these other than those two numbers, so we're just gonna have to deal with that. Let's see. Maybe hard to see the color so good here. So when you first put them out on the white paper, this is a good time just to look at the color. We're looking for a more deeper foresty green color and actually want to stay more away from the yellow or browning color. And you actually here on the paper, even though it's not such a great shot because of the white contrast, you can see there is a color difference. There's a slight color difference. From my perspective, I can tell this one is actually a little bit more yellow. Yeah, this one's like a lighter color, a little bit more yellow. All right, so then the next thing that you're gonna wanna do after you have the matcha mound on here and you've seen the colors, we're gonna look at the texture of the matcha. You want it to be very fine and silky, and you can tell a quality processing based off of this texture, because if they use the commercial grinding operation to grind these, the tea is not gonna be as soft and silky in its texture. So you may find it to be more coarse and gritty, kind of sandy like, if they're using the commercial grinding operation. So you do that just with your finger. So just take like where a mound of the matcha is, and you can put your finger on it and pull it. And it should feel very silky and soft. See here, we can tell it's not so silky and soft. You can kind of see the lines, like these coarse, like where there was coarse pieces of the matcha that created these lines here. Now, I guess I'll use my other finger since this one already has that matcha on it, and pull a line with this one. And this is the same thing. The texture feels the same way. So it is soft, but it is creating these kind of lines here. So my guess is, and I wasn't given any other processing notes about these matchas. They just asked me to review them. So my guess is that this is using what is known as the bead mill. So it's not necessarily the full commercial grinding operation, but it is a more affordable option for still getting the softness. Like, I know when we brew this up, when we make the bowls of matcha, this will make for a very soft and creamy matcha. But just on the feeling here, it's a little bit coarse. If I had my other matcha that I know is using that traditional stone mill, you see the difference. So I'll go ahead and show you guys on Instagram. What is going on here? Oh, maybe you can't see it. That's funny. Yeah, it's not gonna work for you guys. Let's see if I can pull this up. Yeah, it's not gonna show. Oh, there we go, it's showing. So you can see those lines and the colors and everything. Cool. This is the first time that I'm in mod view. It looks like yeah, it looks like we're streaming good. I've been having some internet problems, and my brother's been here to help me out, which has been nice. Aww. Hey, Taff. Aw, thank you, Taff. Happy New Year to you. I hope you have a great countdown. Whether you're enjoying it with friends or family or anybody else, yeah, I hope you have a great time. All right, so I'm gonna start making some matcha here. So I'll start with the 31. Thanks for stopping by, Taff. It's late for you. You should be sleepy. Sleepy Taff. Sleepy Taff. So I'm just using this sifter here to help sift out any clumps that may have formed in the matcha powder due just to moisture in the air, simple moisture in the air. Tef, I like how you spell my name, Elisa. That's good. You're the first person to ever call me that. You know, growing up as a kid, there was really only one name that people would mistake me for, and that was Elsie. And I didn't get that. Like, where do you see Elsie? How do you see Elsie out of all of that? But I like yours, Elisa. It smells good. It's definitely smelling nice. Okay, I got my water. Okay, I'm at 176. That should be a good temperature. I'll use the same temperature for both matchas. I'm just gonna use the one bowl, but after I finish the first bowl, I'll pour it into the glass pitcher so we can see it. And then the second bowl I can pour into this other pitcher so we can have the easy side by side on it. You can see the color here, contrast to this is the 31. So I just poured a little bit of water in here just to be able to mix it to bring it together. Mix it a little bit more. See, so I can make this thick paste when it's at this point, and I can mix it, you know, against the bowl, really get into like the corners of the bowl and get it all incorporated together. And then I'll pour in the rest of the water that will make up the actual drink. But the purpose of this step of the mixing, the whisking, is purely to froth up the matcha. So when you're doing this, you don't want to be moving the whisk in any different direction. You just want to do one up and down motion with your wrist. And then you also don't want the tings, so that the tings is the bottom of the whisk. You do not want the tings to touch the bottom of the bowl. And that will lead to a more optimal foam. You know, if you want to do it better, you can try to pop these larger bubbles, because the ideal is to have a very consistent tiny bubbles. Tiny bubbles. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour this one out into the first glass pitcher here. I'll try to get all this foam out of here. All right, first one down. Now I'll work on the 32. So that was the 31. Hey Paul, good to see you. Hey, thanks. Yeah, this is my brother Mike. He's been here helping me set up today. Do something a little more snazzy than what I'm used to. Yeah, I'm comparing 2 brand new samples of matcha that were sent. Oh, you just got done with work. Good for you. I hope you have a relaxing evening. Are you working tomorrow night, Paul? I'm sure it's going to be busy out there tomorrow. New Year's Eve in Vegas. I hope the best for you, Paul. I am looking forward to a peaceful night at home with some soba noodles at midnight. Oh, you are working. Oh, well, it's good. It's a blessing. Yeah, it's a blessing, but it's also, it's difficult. A little dust here. All right. So the same thing, I'm just gonna add in a little bit of water to make that paste, that initial paste. This one also smells nice. Yeah, you're used to working New Year's Eve, I bet. I used to when I was doing the Uber driving. You better believe I was working New Year's Eve. It's the best money all year, man. I'd be doing a lot. I don't know if there's gonna be a whole lot of that going on this year. People buzzing around in Uber cars to get to all the parties, but okay, so this is a much better bowl. So you see the foam was a lot different on this bowl versus the other bowl. I don't know if you can notice it from the camera, but this one a lot more effortlessly created the tiny bubbles, the more consistent small foam. Now And here we can also see color difference. This music took an interesting turn. I like it though. Let's see the difference. This one, I mean, this one, the foam, you know, has started to die down just because of it was made sooner before the other one. Let's see, I got myself a cup for drinking. Surge pricing, yeah, that's what did it. Yeah, there was one time I drove some people. They were so sweet. They were so drunk. They had no idea what was going on. But I drove them from the Mirage to the Tropicana, which is not very much walking distance, but it's definitely walking distance. I guess for a woman wearing high heels, drunk, not a really good walking distance. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and try this 31. Very smooth in its taste though. It's not so complex and rich. Like what I'm used to from like the ceremonial grades that we work with. But it's definitely easy to drink on its own. All right, let's try the 32. See, this one just seems like to be like a richer, darker color. And that was the same observation that I made on the dry powder when we evaluated it on the white paper. Yeah, I believe this 32 is a higher grade. Also very easy, very smooth. Both of them are very smooth. This one just has a little bit more complexity to it. You know, I had noticed that it had frothed a little bit better in the bowl when I was whisking it. And then of course the color is more green. You know, it's a more foresty green than what we saw from the first cup that I had. But so Paul asked, does color and or clarity have any indication of quality? Yes. And actually that applies for all teas, not just the matcha, but with matcha, the powder is more susceptible to oxidation, to, you know, release of aroma. Hi, Fio. Thanks for coming in and joining us for some matcha tasting. In matcha, when you start seeing that color start to degrade and change to like the more yellowy brown color, it means that there's been more exposure to oxygen, which means you could also be losing the volatiles, you know, the valuable volatiles that we want in the tea to get the aromas from it. I don't know if there's so much of a change on texture, but if you're buying your matcha brand new from the manufacturer and they're sending it to you and it's already yellow, or it's gritty, or like when you make the matcha, it has like, you know, some weird color sediment or darker sediment or something like that, you know, that's a very strong indicator that there was probably other deficiencies and problems in processing other than just storage, just that they, you know, allowed the matcha to oxidize. So there very much is a correlation and connection between the vibrancy of color and the clarity of the liquor or of the made tea to the overall quality of the tea. So, you know, if we weren't drinking matcha, see, look at the foam. The foam in this one is staying longer than the foam in this one. Oh, that's cool. You can really see it. This has a thicker foam. Yeah. Yeah, this is a thinner foam here. And you know, the foam on matcha, to be honest, that is not very much an indicator of quality. For the American market, it kind of is, especially for a product like this, because the more than likely, once we start getting this matcha out into the market, it's mostly going to be used in like coffee shops and cafes to make into like lattes or something like that. So they like that foaminess. But you know, actually our most highest value ceremonial blend of matcha, of ceremonial grade matcha, does not froth as well as the other grades. But there's so much other character that comes through in that matcha that the texture, you know, that foamy texture is not as important as the aroma or as the textural profile of the matcha. So now I'm gonna go ahead and drink more and get myself all tea drunk, and we can start talking about chivalry and all those things. Yeah, there is definitely like, I am starting to sense, even though it's smooth and it's slightly creamy to it, I am sensing a little bit of like bitterness and astringency. Like I really would, you know, say that this is probably a couple steps up from what we currently sell as the cafe grade. And so the cafe grade is something that is more suited for the cafe coffee shop environment, meaning it's good enough that you can make it as a matcha drink like this, but it's also affordable enough that you can also put it into a latte and make it sweeter. And so actually when you're putting it into lattes and making it sweeter, you want it to have a little bit of that bitter bite to it so that it takes to the milk and the sugar better. I'm gonna get some lyrics now. Drinking some unorthodox tea over here. You like my New Year Bitcoin. He wants to say Happy New Year's. He used to talk, he used to say things. He doesn't talk anymore. But it's our celebration Bitcoin. He's ready to party tomorrow with all the soba noodles. But overall, this is quite exciting. I'm most excited for this 32. I think that it'll be really well received by our buyers. Looking forward to, yeah, this is festive Bitcoin. I look forward to bringing this onto our catalog and offering it to our buyers. I think they'll be really excited about it. And of course, Matcha Organic Japan's gonna be really excited about it because this is their year's first harvest. You know, so they're just getting out the gate, making their first batches of tea, and you know, we're gonna start spreading it. And by next year's harvest, there's gonna be even more and more opportunity, and lots of other really great matcha blends to make. That's what's interesting about matcha is it's usually a blend. It's not just, you know, one. It can be, you know, the harvest specifically from, like, let's say it would be like this area of the tea field that we're in, just these bushes right here. You could just harvest that and, you know, keep that as like a single product to the final matcha cup. But most matcha is actually a blend. So a matcha manufacturer, so that would be the grinding factory, they will buy tencha. Tencha is the raw form of matcha before it's ground into the powder. It's the full steamed leaf that has been deveined. They pull the vein out of the tea leaf. They will buy different tenchas from all over the country, actually, not just from one specific area. And then they'll make blends based off of what their quality characteristics and price characteristics that they're looking for are, as well as their clients. And so a lot of times, like custom blends will be made for custom projects. And that's exactly what's happened here. Like, although this is not a blend of matcha coming from different regions throughout Japan, it's tencha coming from one specific place, and all the farmers are working together on this collaborative project. But like this 31 and this 32, like they're different batches. And so the tencha leaf that went into it and the way that they got processed is just a little bit different. It's kind of like whenever you see like a batch number on like a whiskey bottle or something like that. The raw material and the process may have all been the same, but just the batch can indicate, some slight difference. So that's going to be probably the biggest learning curve for Matcha Organic Japan, is not only growing and processing the tencha and making it into matcha like this, but also being able to tweak the blending to gain a consistent product. And that's the challenge, and it's kind of cool. Hey, T-Chains, what's up, Chris? Good to see you. I'm drinking some matcha. Drinking some matcha on some matcha. That's funny, my matcha, you can't see it because of the green screen. You can't see my matcha, right? Oh, but that's interesting. Well, you could see it here. I guess this green. Yeah, that's so interesting. I would have thought, hey, sapping some matcha over here. I'm about to get lit, and then I'm about to get like super serious. I'm about to drop some seriousness in, because ultimately this is a Constitution study group. I did a little live evaluation of some new matcha samples. You've been drinking all types today. Are you pretty lit? Are you pretty tea lit now? I'm starting to get that like reactive delayed blooming umami. So that's good. That's a good sign. I was a little afraid. Yeah, you gotta sap some matcha. I get it. Chris, Happy New Year to you. I hope you've had a wonderful 2020 so far. I know we haven't really chatted too much, but we're here now and you are lit. Good to hear, man. That's great news. And I hope you stay lit. Like, keep it up until tomorrow night. I hope you have some fun plans. I'm sure you do. I trust that you do. Knowing you, you always have the greatest plans going on. Yeah, I'm gonna be partying with my Bitcoin. I do miss our conversations. Yeah, I miss your rapping. I miss your tea raps. Are you still rapping? You still rapping the tea? Yeah, our friend Chris on Instagram, his handle is T-Chains with a Z, T-E-A, T-Chains. He's a good tea friend. Actually, Chris, I'll be honest, you might be like one of my first tea friends, man, from way back in the day when I was living in Japan. And you were living in Japan too, I believe. I think that's the connection. We met each other through Facebook or something. But we've come a long way, I don't think we've like grown up at all, but we've come a long way. Still acting like children, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. All right, I'm gonna start transitioning my mindset, all of this towards, way back in the day, yeah, when we were still in our 20s. Can you imagine I just said that? The being in your 20s is like way back in the day. All right, yeah, I'm gonna start transitioning to talking about Restorative culture, that's what it's called. All right, so this is going to be restorative culture circles. I like this. We're already off to a good start. I wish Snake Eye was here, our friend Snake Eye DIY from Twitch. He is the one who had originally inspired all of, this conversation around restorative justice circles, because he had studied criminology. Talk to you later, Chris. Thanks for stopping by. Cheers. Happy New Year. He studied criminology in college and was introduced to the concept of restorative circles or restorative justice circles, and had recommended that could be something to look at as an opportunity for addressing some of the issues that I've been talking about here. So I am going to be reading from an article published, when was this published? I think early 2000s, written by Belinda Hopkins, From Restorative Justice to Restorative Culture. So this is an article, as well as a couple of others that I came across that actually talk about applying the concept of restorative justice and frameworks that have been used in that process to apply it to other subjects. So let's see what we can learn from this as we apply it to the future of this series that we host on Wednesdays. In its original conception, restorative justice was an innovative process adapted to address criminal behavior in such a way as to reduce reoffending and subsequently to increase victim satisfaction. In the past 20 years, the philosophy, values, principles, skills, and applications of restorative justice have been applied in all manner of hitherto a restorative culture in their own workplaces in the role of their senior managers and leaders in modeling this new way of thinking and behaving. Reference is made to developments in schools in the author's main area of expertise and experience, and a major source of international inspiration for the growth of our restorative milieu. The lessons learned and implementing culture change in school settings is being applied more widely as an increasing number of public sector employees, in particular, learning about what restorative practice can do not only for their daily interactions with clients and service users, but also in-house and for themselves as a team. So this is great. So this is talking about some case study experience of applying the principles of restorative justice outside of the criminal justice system, specifically in schools as well as professional organizations, which is awesome. Because I think that the corporation and the corporate mentality is so much a powerful institution. And I know that there's a lot of kind of negative connotation towards corporate mentality or corporate operations, but there's also a lot to learn from it, because corporations are so powerful and they do become such a big part of our lives if we are working parts of them, which in one way or another we kind of all are at all times, a part of this system of the large centralized organizations. But within those organizations and how they operate, culture is really important. And I know that not only as running a corporation myself, or trying to figure out how to run a corporation myself, I got an MBA, and in the 2 years, I would say maybe 60% of what we were learning was being taught to us in a context of culture and culture systems, which is interesting, because ultimately businesses run as a culture. And so it's cool. I think that this will be a good example for us to look at how restorative, so this is restorative culture. This is a new terminology. I'm just gonna continue using this. So I think, we'll just call this session will kind of evolve to just being called Restorative Culture Circle. And we'll see where it goes from there. It's gonna be exciting. Much has been written about the impact of restorative justice interventions on those involved in situations where there has been a criminal offense, wrongdoing, harm, or antisocial behavior. The literature about restorative justice has, for at least the last 20 years, been of a pioneering nature, making the case for what was initially an innovative approach to offending behavior, debating what is and isn't restorative, discussing its limitation and its versatility. This paper differs in that the main focus of attention is not on criminal justice services, nor simply on responsive victim-offender interventions. Instead, it considers the contribution that restorative approaches can make in public sector services, in institutions, organizations, and indeed in most public or private workplaces. More specifically, it pays attention to the impact on staff in these environments and also on the leadership teams when a restorative culture is adapted, not just for client service user interaction, but internally and systemically as the way we do things around here. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. So this is exactly it. And with that, you know, I just completely forgot. I was gonna make some cookies. So I'm gonna go ahead and make some cookies while I can. I like how they word it. Internally and systemically as the way we do things around here. You know, people talk about, like, what is that? Systemic. That's the perfect way. And this is like an academic paper. I love how they worded that. Just the way we do things around here. All right, so I've got some cookie dough here. This is actually from a while back when I was cooking with our buddy, my little dough log here. I've just been having it in the fridge. It's the way we do things around here. Oh, speaking of restorative culture, we've all seen I think that this year is gonna go out with our last meme, the last meme of 2020. Oh no, this is definitely my invisible, ooh, it's my magic knife. I think we're gonna end this year with our last meme being about tea. And you know, I won't go into details about the meme. If you've seen it, you've seen it. We don't have to talk in detail about what that meme is about, but I just love how the memes that are coming out of it are given tea kind of this image of being involved in this whole restorative culture movement. Of course, it was active violence, but my favorite memes that have come out of it have been ones that aren't really focused so much on tea being violent, but tea being like the confidence, the the consciousness tool that just, you know, it's gonna step in and do the job if it needs to be done. All right, I'll make 3 cookies because my brother's here. Give him a cookie too. Whoops, we'll have to fix these. All right, they'll get fixed. They won't be as pretty as they could be. But does a cookie need to be pretty? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. But these will be fine. Oh, this one's a little thick. Well, you know what else I had? I had matcha chocolate. I brought all these things I wanted to have on stream. I wanted to have like a whole little plate of treats. But I guess it's for the best, right? Or maybe I can just save it for tomorrow's tea talk. So these are the Rogueway. The Rogueway cookies. that we prepared the other day with Logan at Ingrediology. And the dough, so it's got this like broken up rogueway dried leaf tea. And yeah, hey Snake Eye, you're back! Or you're here. I mean, I guess you're back. I was here. You just came, I think. Yeah, so it's not just restorative justice, though. This is restorative culture. That's a new term. In this paper here, which I'll go ahead and stroll back up so you can see, from restorative justice to restorative culture. And I finally found an application. I'm just going to place these cookies in my Easy Bake oven here. Yeah, so converting the idea from applying it to restorative justice to restorative culture. This is what I was looking for, and I couldn't find it before, but it's here. So here's an actual academic paper. I love this term here. So how do we apply the concepts of restorative justice to how interactions happen internally or systemically as the way we do things around here? So utilizing these concepts. The paper begins with some historical context to link where I believe the field is now where it has come from. This paper identifies how restorative justice and its philosophy, practice, and application has developed in the last 20 years from its roots in the criminal justice system to its adaptation and application in a wide range of settings. It identifies the values, principles, and practice of restorative justice that has been so inspiring for so many people and have led to these wider applications. So we are not the first to do it, and that's fine. You know, I don't mind being the first to do something, but at the same time, I don't need to be. You know, there's some people that think they're really fixated on that, like that's their identity, or you know, that's their value that they bring. And you know, it's not really important that's first, but it's just important that we do it and that we inspire others to do it as well. So that's what we're gonna do. This paper also describes the development and thinking amongst pioneer trainers and training providers, identifying the need not only for high quality practice from restorative facilitators, but the vital role played by the milieu or environment in which the practice is happening. These developments have been in large measure inspired by those of us working in schools and care settings. We have sought to identify how to support these environments in ensuring that the interventions we have trained them in also have a longer term lasting impact on those involved. In effect, we have had to become not only trainers of skills, but also change agents, supporting communities in culture transformation and having to learn much from other sectors in order to do this effectively. Our experiences have shown us that the day-to-day thinking and practice within an institution is key to this. Furthermore, most research and evaluation of pioneering initiatives have indicated the important role of senior leaders, and this will be further explored. There is a risk of diluting what restorative justice actually means and why it offers something very unique. In the UK, therefore, has been helpful to have clear guidelines and quality standards to which everyone can adhere, even when moving beyond restorative justice original roots. From process to practice. As a concept and as a process, restorative justice was first developed and applied in the criminal justice field in the late 1990s. So if this is 20 years after that, then yeah, this is probably from like 10 years ago, this article. In essence, a restorative approach to offending behavior is one in which the repair of relationships and of the harm caused takes precedent over assigning blame and applying a sanction. This mindset shift from what is often a deep-seated attachment to punishment as a response to wrongdoing, to a desire for healing and closure, following genuine connection and communication between all those involved, is at once simple and yet profound. Initial definitions of restorative justice focus specifically on the process involving those affected by a crime or wrongdoing. So we studied what restorative justice was last week, so I'm not going to go into detail of this. I kind of want to like look at more meat of this article of the application to like the schools and the professional organizations. Research has now established the efficacy of restorative justice, and this helps to explain the increasing support for it as a practice in many countries. However, even in the criminal justice field, there is still a long way to go before it becomes the normal across the world. Despite its endorsement by the United Nations. For this reason, there are some people who are concerned about the widening of the term restorative beyond the justice domain and fear that this will lead to a dilution of its uniqueness and make it possible to define it in a way that can bring about reform. So that's interesting. Okay, well, that's good to be aware of. This is something like I talk about from a different angle, like in the work that we do, is that there are like terms and ideas that have a very positive intention when they're first launched, but over time they become co-opted. Like people will start applying it to their own thing, and it starts taking on a new meaning and going down a new path of where originally intended to go. And then, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, it's a completely different thing than what originally, and gets diluted and it loses its value. So, a really good example of that is the concept of direct trade. We won't even talk about fair trade. That's a whole other mess. But even just the concept of direct trade, a fourth wave coffee barista or, a wine sommelier or wine connoisseur would totally wrap their head around the concept of direct trade. And in the beginning, when like direct trade tea or even direct trade coffee or other direct trade products, when they were first being introduced by those innovative, pioneering coffee importers or tea importers, they were doing it right, and their intention was educating the market correctly. But then Walmart comes along or Target comes along, and then they start using that term. And there's no like policing around the term. It's not like a USDA policed or controlled term. Anybody can put it on their packaging, and there's no like offense or there's no follow-up other than the consumer and the market holding the brand accountable. And so that's why I'm such a big fan of empowering consumers to hold brands accountable for truth and for, because brands are like educating you. Like I'm educating you right now, or at least I'm trying to. And if I'm not responsible, and not to say that we know everything is either right or wrong, but being responsible is holding a place for being wrong and accepting that maybe you're wrong. But anyway, a little off topic there, but the same thing stated in this article about being careful of applying the concept of restorative justice or restorative whatever process you want to call it to other concepts can risk that same co-opting that we've seen in direct trade. However, the field is moving ahead despite such views, and bodies like the European Forum for Restorative Justice, initially founded to bring about criminal justice reform in Europe, may find that despite its initial founding vision, it too can embrace the natural evolution of what many are calling a new social movement or even a new social science. Ooh, that's exciting. A new social science. Nevertheless, the warning is a posit. The honest one is those widening the net to be clear what they mean by restorative practice. Okay, so I guess that's the proactive thing that we can do in this initiative is just to clearly define what we mean with restorative culture circle or restorative practice, restorative circle, or whatever, that we like clearly define our intention and our use of the word restorative there, which I think is it's doable, very doable. If you haven't noticed, I'm getting a little tea drunk. I'm feeling like a little like I'm holding it well together, but like that last paragraph I was reading, was a little bit of a challenge. So let's get it on. Let's do more. If the social movement for restorative justice is more about just changing the practices of states, it can have an impact on an entire culture. If it actually succeeds in changing families and schools toward restorative practices, the effects on crime should be much more considerable, right? I mean, that's totally true. Even in the practice that we're doing, if we really do make an impact of inspiring other communities to practice these things and initiate these kind of conversations in their communities, then we could definitely make some change on culture. That's what we're trying to do here. We'll make an effect not on culture only, but even crime too, in effect, even though we're not trying to fight crime here, but we're trying to encourage chivalry, which chivalry is an adequacy of politeness. Committing crime is not polite. So yeah, we'll be affecting that. So these people, Sullivan and Tift, in 2001, they were talking about applying these practices at home and with friends. Furthermore, they saw in restorative justice direct links to a vision of social justice. In their view, unequal and divisive systems and structures which currently cause pain and suffering are just as harmful as offending and antisocial behavior, and as such have no place in a truly restorative society. Oh man, okay, so here it is. This is what we've got to look at. Sullivan and Tift in 2001. As this paper comes up. All right, so that'll be further reading. And then this other one, Watchell and McCole. The social discipline window. I've got to look into that. That's an interesting title there. Oh, those cookies are smelling good. The social discipline, let me zoom in so we can see. The social discipline window is a concept with broad application in many settings. It describes 4 basic approaches to maintaining social norms and behavioral boundaries. The 4 are represented as different combinations of high or low control and high or low support. The restorative domain combines both high control and high support and is characterized by doing things with people rather than to them or for them. Cool. Oh, we're getting dancy here now. Good. I like this. All right, so let's see on this range. So 2 would be punitive. So that's what we want to go away from. That has a high degree of control and a low degree of support. That's punitive. Now, if we want to be with, so this is the blue area we want to try to be in our practices and what we do. So that would be a high amount of control and a high amount of support. All right, so I get it. Let's see this article. What is this? It discusses the basic issues of restorative justice with attention not only on the processes of healing, but also on the transformation of the social institutions of the family, the school, the workplace, and the neighborhood. All right, so I'll definitely check this one out. I probably won't do this one live. I'll probably just read this on my own time. If it's good, I'll definitely share it with you guys. But I'm on this article, though, today. Oh, my friend Audley just messaged me. Hey, Brian, what's up, man? Greetings from my matcha latte. These ideas have had as much have not as much. I got a tongue tie. These ideas have not had as much traction as they might have had until recently, perhaps because of the tendency to focus on the responsive potential of restorative practice and the demand for training by people seeking more effective strategies to address conflicts and challenges. The message that essential changes might be needed across a whole institution and in every individual within that institution have been more difficult to put across, not least because of the time commitment for such a cultural change and the associated investment of funding. What? We need funding? I don't think we need funding for this, guys. Like, we're talking about chivalry and politeness between people. I don't know if we necessarily need funding for that. However, the debate about what constitutes restorative practice and what makes it to be a restorative organization or institution is now gaining traction, certainly in the UK. Linked to these wired issues is the question of what it means to act restoratively or to be restorative. All of these challenges face those working as trainers and by extension as consultants in culture change management with different institutions such as schools and more excitingly across the public service in whole towns, counties, or local government jurisdictions. This has become the new frontier for pioneers in the field. These are exciting times. Yeah, it is exciting times. Oh, those cookies are smelling good. I want to make sure they're fully done though, so I'm not gonna pull them out early. I'm gonna let the cookies smell good for like another few minutes, and then I'll pull them out. Hi, Screaming Chicken. How you doing tonight? Bearing in mind Walgrave's concerns that restorative practitioners working beyond the justice system run the risk of diluting the meaning of restorative and restorative practice, it is important that there is a shared understanding of what the term means. The term restorative justice, to define a process, is now more often being replaced by terms like restorative practice or approach, to define not only a whole range of interactions, proactive as well as responsive, but even a whole culture within a workplace or across a community. Howard Zur, one of the founding fathers of restorative justice, reminds us of a vital need to always remain in touch with these core values as we move forward. So Snake Eye DIY says restorative justice is being used in some indigenous nations very effectively. I'm sure. You know, and as well, like, I'm sure that those practices, just because there are other challenges than just the crime itself and those types of communities and indigenous communities, crime, of course, is an issue. And I'm sure that's why these practices started to be applied. But they may be so effective because they are being applied on a more institution level versus on an individual level. I mean, at least from my research that I've done over the past few weeks, Snake Eye, like, that's where the efficacy comes from, that we have to think about a crime not as just the individual perpetrator, but as, you know, a piece of a larger institution. Systemic things, just how we do things around here, that type of a thing. And I feel like indigenous communities, just like island communities, are like, your community is like in your face. It's there. You know, those institutions are there. You know, in a lot of Western cultures and more, you know, developed cultures or whatever, there's like a deeper disconnect between individuals in a community. Like, I remember when I lived in Los Angeles, that was like a main observation that I have made about living there versus other places. And not to say that other places, I mean, once I moved to Hawaii, which is an island, so, you know, like your neighbors in your community are just like there, you know, there's no stopping. And I think there's something about just the vibe of just being in those types of communities or environments that kind of make you more connected with your community, which I think is a big piece for effective restorative practice. So these are the underlying values or principles from literature. So openness, self-determination, collaboration, flexibility, equality, non-discrimination, non-violence, fairness, respect, empowerment, trust, honesty, volunteerism, healing, personal accountability, inclusivity, empathy, and accountability. All good words. I think those are words that, like, if you were to digest all of my streams over the past year, I probably have used all of those words a lot. That's good. Values. So Snake Eye says it's also used to settle civil disputes and arguments between community members. Yep. Yeah, it can be. So that's what we're gonna do, I think, Snake Eye. I think like what I'm gonna start is like, so from 2021 on, I think what I'm going to be doing is going to be setting up like circles of different people. So, you know, I'm going to be reaching out to certain people that have already expressed an interest in being a part of this process, and we'll have these circles. And I think what we'll do is come up, like, there'll be a different topic, and I want to like tell a story. It could be a real story. You know, I'm sure that there are like examples I can find on the internet of stories dealing with different offenses, cultural offenses. They may be dealing with discrimination. They may be dealing with marginalization, or I don't know, any level, mostly discrimination, because I think that's like a big thing that we've been seeing is systemically. You know, a lot of discrimination is just kind of built into how we do things around here. You know, share that story, and then doing the circle to allow each member to share either their reflections on it. You know, of course, we'll be encouraging them to share their own stories that may be related to that story. So starting this out, I don't think that I will be doing this live, you know, because there's something important that in reading last week's research about restorative justice practices, that creating that vulnerable, safe container for the exchanges to happen is really important. And I think like right off the bat, just putting it out there on the internet as a live stream, you know, is kind of the opposite of that safe container. So in the beginning, those circles will be offline, but in time, I want to find ways to transition that information to share through this forum. And so I think maybe once we become comfortable in this process and how it works, what I could do is have the circles, and maybe the first go around won't be live, but after everybody has gone around, then we can come back in and then let everybody go around and speak again. And so I feel like the first round can be purely raw, vulnerable, safe container, say whatever. And, you know, even if that first go around requires a couple of rounds of, you know, emotional sharing or, you know, whatever else comes along with that, that can be contained in that safe space. And then the second go around could be the chance after everybody's been able to not closure things, but at least process what just happened in the first go around. They can essentially like censor their response. So then we can share in a second go around, you know, what was actually learned from the first go around. All right, I'm gonna try to pull out these cookies and see how they look. They're smelling pretty done. Smelling very done. Yep, they're done. My biggest cookie is not all the way done, but it's done enough. I'm pretty done. I need to eat something. I'm starting to feel like in my stomach when you drink a lot of green tea and your stomach starts to get a little upset. And that's where I'm at. Snake Eye DIY, thank you so much for participating in this and sharing your thoughts and ideas. I'm very grateful. I hope you have a great new year. Have some good fun lined up for your day tomorrow and your countdown. All right, so just looked over those values. These principles tend towards a restorative mindset. All right, so here's the mindset that we need to use in approaching this. A recognition that every individual will have their own unique perspective or interpretation on any given situation or event and need the chance to be heard. An appreciation of the importance of enabling people to express their thoughts, feelings, and needs, and listen to the thoughts, feelings, and needs of others. The focus on the impact or effect of what has happened or may be going to happen in situations where a restorative approach is used in advance of making a decision. The belief that it is those most affected by an issue who are the ones best placed to keep a way forward, and that people respond best when involved in decision making about issues that affect them. The trust that by listening to each other and taking the time to reflect on what they have understood is important to everyone there. In this way, people are able to make decisions that reflect their respect and empathy for each other. The values, principles, and skills already mentioned are not unique to restorative practice. What is unique, perhaps, is the combination of these values, principles, skills, and practices, and it is this combination that has proved to be such an inspiration to practitioners in a wide variety of fields. People want to know what it will look like, sound like, and feel like to work in a restorative environment or culture. What will they do or say? How will that influence the way they think, their beliefs and attitudes? Indeed, what, if anything, do they need to change? Over the last 15 years, I've been seeking in my practice ways to clarify these issues. I've identified 5 essential beliefs that seem common to all models of practice. These 5 core beliefs have provided a framework or mindset of language and a practice that many people are finding exceptionally useful. I have begun to call it the 5-5-5 model. 5 core beliefs, 5 areas of language, 5 steps or stages, and a range of restorative processes that can be used for all manner of interactions and interventions. What people need is a clear, consistent, replicable, and teachable framework for their practice, enabling people to feel secure that they understand the way we do things around here in their daily work. These core beliefs can be integrated into a wide range of restorative interventions and practices, as each in turn informs a step in any process that can be described as restorative. It's not only a model or framework, but it is significant that there has been a positive responses to the model from many very different quarters. One very experienced businesswoman with many years in the construction industry thanked me for articulating for the first time what had helped make her so successful with people all her working life. Another from a senior police officer was that this model encapsulated what modern day policing should be all about. Oh, that's interesting. The first core belief is that everyone has their own unique perspective. Okay, so I just read over those, and this is just detail of those, so I'm not going to do that. And that was cool. So I'll just continue to reference those 5 points. In staff rooms and other workplaces, staff will be developing the skill of non-judgmental active listening. Wow, really? That's crazy. This is the first time that I've seen like that applied to like American business ideology, because usually it's kind of the opposite. You know, in my MBA, I got a Japanese focused MBA. It's a collaborative MBA between the University of Hawaii and Fujitsu, which is the Japanese computer company. And Fujitsu has a partnership with one of the leading thought leaders of organizational theory. And he's in Japan, he's in Tokyo. His name is Dr. Nanaka, I think. Yeah, Dr. Nanaka. And he advocated for a concept called knowledge sharing, which was like, it was so like antithesis to everything else that I learned in business school. But, you know, I was in the Japanese program, so, you know, I took, you know, different classes, and I really appreciated that. I was like, wow, this is like the most kind of like hippie idea or framework or concept that I've gotten to study my entire MBA, because most MBA stuff is pretty dry and clean cut. There's definitely a focus on like emotional intelligence and cultural behavior, which I think is pretty cool and high level. But as far as like so in most of my MBA classes, those things were all taught as like the leader of the organization. You know, you have this organization where the leader is on top and it goes down from there. The leader is responsible. Whoever is at the top of this peak is responsible for controlling all the culture, for doing all of that, which yes, they are. At the end of the day, whoever's at the top is accountable for everything. But a really good leader will find ways to delegate all that responsibility among the organization. And so in knowledge sharing, this Japanese ideology, which is very common of general Japanese business culture, is the importance of knowledge being shared between all the different nodes in your organization, not just coming from the top down. So usually like an American corporate or Western corporate ideology, information comes from the top down. But in this knowledge sharing, it's saying the organization may still be like this, but the information is just going to be like spreading all over, you know? And so you have to like implement cultural practices that encourages even the smallest guy at the bottom to feel empowered to share their information with even the top person. And that was really cool. I was really grateful that I got to study that ideology throughout my MBA, because yeah, I'll tell you, the rest of it was very like, the person at top needs to always be studying everything and they need to always be making the decisions, and that's just impossible. Like, especially when your organization starts to become very large, it's impossible to be in control of all of the information and all the decisions that need to be made. It's really important to create that safe environment for information to be shared among all layers of this organization. You know, just like what I'm doing right now. Like, I am in no way equipped or qualified to be talking about the Constitution, to be talking about chivalry, to be talking about law or government, because I'm just a food scientist running a technology company, you know. But this is not hurting. And if anything, I'm hoping that what I'm doing here is inspiring, you know, like the rest of the world to feel like they can do it too. And if we all do it, then, you know, the world's going to be doing pretty good. It'll be really good. Regular staff circles amongst senior leadership teams, departmental heads, and also circles both within and across staff hierarchies and the hierarchies themselves may become flatter as there is a greater sense of consultation, collaboration, and involvement in decision-making when it involves the entire workforce team. Buddying systems, staff counseling, peer-to-peer mentoring schemes. Gradually, an organization, institution, or workplace can develop a culture of listening and acceptance in which every employee matters and everyone's ideas are valued. Wow, that sounds incredible. Do any of you guys work at workplaces where you feel like this is, you feel like you work in a restorative workplace? And if you do, I'd love to hear your experience. Cookies. 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 Yummy cookies. Let's see. So this one. Look at that. This is from my Easy Bake Oven. Getting such a nice cookie. I'm gonna go perfect with my matcha here. Kevin, you don't work at a restorative workplace. Well, I get that. We can't all be working in the progressive play, but you know, maybe that's something. Hey chef, how's it going? A little tea cookie with my tea here. Mmm. Mmm. Perfect. Just perfect. The second core belief is that what people think in any given moment influences how they feel at that moment, and these feelings inform how they behave. So this is like empathy. Not only are you listening, but you're also holding space. The thoughts and feelings are beneath the surface and yet very important to understand. To engage authentically with other people, we need to lower the waterline and share our own thoughts and feelings, and also be curious about theirs, whilst also respecting their right to privacy if they choose. And so this is where it gets tricky. You know, if we're gonna start, you know, doing these circles, these restorative culture circles, and trying to live stream that and share what's happening in those circle. Oh, thanks, chef. It does look good. Here's the other cookies in my tiny Easy Bake Oven. Mmm. Work teams can aspire to become more emotionally literate, recognizing that although their feelings and thoughts are invisible to others, they nevertheless help to explain what they do. And say, colleagues can aspire to make what is invisible visible by talking about and listening out for thoughts and feelings and recognizing them as important. Brian, you had 20 chocolate chip meringue cookies for pre-dinner? Dang, how are you gonna have dinner if that's what you eat? Yeah, you need it. This is like the greatest advantage of the Easy Bake, is nothing to do with like it being cool in childhood dreams of cooking with the Easy Bake, but like it keeps you healthy, because this is, you know, it took me like half an hour to cook these 3 cookies. So I'm probably only gonna have these 3 cookies. No, I'll make some more cookies. My brother is here, so I've got to share with him. I'll make more cookies. But it's perfect. It's a perfect cookie. It's a perfect cookie. What is that? Perfect brown bottom. Crispy. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, you need an Easy Bake though. I'd recommend, if you are in the market for an Easy Bake Oven, I'll show you mine. If you are in the market for an Easy Bake Oven, like the lovely one I have here, I'd recommend that you buy it secondhand. Yeah, it's crunchy. It's a good cookie. It's a really good cookie, Kevin. But yeah, if you're in the market for an Easy Bake Oven, I'd suggest that you go just on like the Facebook Marketplace or even Craigslist. Like there are like so many being sold, especially I bet you like if you wait like another week or 2 weeks from now, all the little girls that were gifted Easy Bake Ovens for Christmas that used them the one time, and now the parents want it out of the way. But yeah, you can find them on sale. Like they're like $40, I think, if you buy it brand new. but you can, like I bought this one for 15. And that person had only used it once. So it was like pretty much brand new for me. So that's my recommendation for the day. My big recommendation to end out year 2020. Buy your Easy Bake Oven secondhand. It's good fun. I do recommend it. So many benefits. So many benefits. The matcha is still going. I'm still feeling it too. I've been streaming for a couple of hours now. Well, an hour and a half, yeah. Yeah, I should take these off and make more cookies. Turn this buddy back on. Brian, what are you doing for New Year's? What kind of plans you got? Kevin, thanks for joining today. I hope you're doing well. All right. Cutting more cookies. Hopefully these come out better. Yeah, the dough's a little bit softer now, so it's cutting a little bit easier than the last time. All right. I got my 3 cookies. These are the cookies that are gonna last me forever. All right. Going in. Okay. Now we wait another half hour for those 3 cookies to finish. Oh, best to you, Chef. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out. Happy 2021 to you. I'm doing good, Kevin. What? The tea and honey cookbook? I am going to keep my eye out on that. Hey, Chef, do you want to come on and do like a little announcement and share your book when it's ready? Please hit me up. I'd love to have you on. We could have you stream on. We could talk about your book. Tea and honey cookbook? Are you kidding? Hell yeah. We can even do some easy bake cooking. Maybe I can cook one of the recipes in your book live. I will seriously do that, Chef. I'm gonna hit you up by that. Well, Brian, you're gonna meet with your oldest and cook food. And you have a shelter kitty now? Oh, that's good. Everybody needs a little buddy. Everybody needs a little buddy. Just like mine. He's a festive Bitcoin. He's a festive Bitcoin. Happy New Year. Yeah, Kevin, I'm doing good. I'm feeling a little tea drunk because, you know, I drank some matcha here, but the cookie is helping cut the edge a little bit. Yeah, we're totally... Oh, cool. Awesome, Chef. You're still there. Good. Yeah, so we'll definitely do something. That'd be fun. I'd love to check out your book. I'm sure Brian would too. Brian loves to cook. Cheers. Much love. Happy New Year. Pure aloha. Yes, everybody gets some good aloha. Yeah, I've been doing good. You know what? Something else too. I've been eating so much. So that's been affecting my energy and everything. But it's good. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it. Can't not be. All right, see ya. All right. The third core belief holds that empathy and consideration for others is crucial to the health and well-being of us all. So this is dealing, so it seems that empathy seems to be a really powerful really powerful value. Empathy is hard. How do my actions impact on others, and how will others be affected if I do such and such, and how were others affected when I did such and such? At one level, we are not necessarily directly responsible for another's emotional reactions and responses to our behavior. Individuals interpret what they see and hear differently, and this interpretation or story inevitably impacts on the feelings that arise, as the previous belief makes clear. Nevertheless, there is a degree to which our actions and words do inevitably impact on others' well-being. As social beings, our own health and well-being depends in large measure on the health and well-being of those around us. We enjoy doing what we can to promote the happiness of others, and from a pure efficiency angle, people work much better if their emotional needs are being met, as the next core belief will endorse. If our actions, words, or deeds have caused harm or upset, then if we are to maintain our relationship with those around us, we need to be willing to listen to how what we have done has affected others, and if appropriate, seek to put things right. This is probably like the most important, powerful thing that we're going to be dealing with in this process is reconciling, when we're responsible for creating some type of emotional response. Because a lot of times it's subtle, and we may even justify it in our own minds and reasoning of like, oh, it's small, it's subtle, it's small, it's not a big deal. Like, I should only be worried about this if it was a really big deal. But even if it's subtle, it's important for us to reconcile that and to pave, a restorative culture for the future. The fourth core belief is that our unmet needs drive our behavior. If our physical and emotional needs are met, we are able to function at our best. And if they are not, we are under-resourced and less able to cope, especially in challenging situations. Potentially harmful behaviors such as violent language or actions are likely to be expressions of unmet needs. I'm deeply grateful to the inspiration from Marshall Rosenberg, founder of the nonviolent communication movement, for this aspect of our framework. Any piece of work I begin with the staff team in any workplace, I start by inviting people to identify the needs they have to be able to give to their best at work, using a collection of laminated cards to help initially. The vocabulary of needs can be challenging at first, as people often associate the word need with the verb need to, as in I should, I ought, I must, or as a command, others need to, she, he needs to. Gradually, however, it is possible to develop an awareness of and a vocabulary for our universal human needs, things like respect, appreciation, recognition, belonging, and understanding, and so on. Whether someone has caused harm or has been on the receiving end of harm, they are likely to have similar needs. Until these needs are met, the harm may not be repaired and relationships can maintain damaged. Bye, Kevin. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I hope you received some value and some inspiration from this. That is the goal. The fifth and final core belief on which we have based our restorative practice model is the opportunity to engage in empathic, collaborative problem solving affirms and empowers people. That's a tongue twister. Empathic, collaborative problem solving. People respond best when they are involved in making decisions that affect them and make constructive decisions when they are in touch with their own and others' thoughts, feelings, and needs. In the workplace, people respond much better and feel more motivated and enthused in their work if they feel involved and committed to a shared vision, collectively arrived at. The working atmosphere in a team can dramatically change when people believe that it is up to everyone to make their team, their service, their company, their school, etc. the best it can be. There can be a very positive transformation when staff agrees to plan together, make decisions together, solve problems together, and help each other out if things go wrong. Within this collective agreement, there is a high degree of shared responsibility, commitment, accountability, and expectation. A restorative working environment is not only a place of work, it is a place where the job gets done to the best of everyone's ability and everyone is striving for a high quality performance for the benefit of those whom the staff serves. Well, there we go. So we all got to be in this together with a common goal. So I'll be honest, my goal is to see the world, more civilized and getting along and more equitable and justice. If you agree with me, then yeah, we should work together on this. Because yeah, we're after the same goal. And if we keep that goal in mind and do it with empathy and love and openness, I think we can move mountains. These first 5 steps would be familiar to most restorative practitioners in whatever domain they practice. All right, so here it is. Here's our first steps. Following initial introductions and explanations, people share their experiences of what has happened. All right, Instagram, I'm going to have to go now, but you can catch me. I'll still be going off on Twitch and Facebook, YouTube. Good to be there. Thanks for joining in. Love you guys. Snake Eye, you're still here. Good to see it. Okay, so the first step is to introduce everybody, and okay, so this would be the place where we would share the story. That's going to prompt the rest of the circle. And second thing, everyone shares what is going on through their mind and how these thoughts impacted on their emotional responses. The third is everyone then reflects on the impact of what has happened, who has been affected, and how. The fourth, people reflect on what needs to be done, what needs had been unmet and ignored at the time of the incident, and what they need to move on. The final step, using these needs as the basis for discussion, everyone collaborates to find mutually acceptable ways forward. Cool. So I think, yeah, what I was saying is that how we can share this experience through a live stream or however platform or channel would be to follow these first 5 steps through, that very safe container, that vulnerable safe container that everybody will be inside, that will not be live streamed. That will be the private, intimate thing. So if there is some type of emotional response, they will have a very safe place to share that because it's only going to bring value to everybody else if they share it. So we need to maintain that safe, vulnerable space for that. This structure can be helpful in face-to-face discussions, interpersonal conflict resolution, and mediation between 2 people, and also in group problem-solving, informal encounters between those harmed and those responsible for the harm. The 5-step structure can also be used proactively for planning. And that's more what we're talking about. We're not using these practices to solve crime or anything like that. We're trying to proactively build that restorative culture that we want to see that would be more equitable and civilized, having an adequacy of politeness. A clear framework based on the 5 core beliefs described above has helped staff teams to understand how their own internal staff culture can be enhanced, as well as their day-to-day interactions with those whom they serve. These core beliefs, as well as certain practices such as regular meetings and circles for team building and problem solving, enable staff in any working environment to understand how they can benefit as a team from the restorative philosophy. This can come as a surprise to staff who have attended an initial training course thinking they were going to learn some new tools to use in their job. Teaching staff may attend wanting to improve their behavior management skills. Care staff may tend to enhance their skill in dealing with very challenging behavior and find alternative responses to calling in the police, which can have long-term detrimental impact on a looked after young person. Youth justice staff, okay. Regular use of the circle process can help staff through challenging times or when decisions need to be made. In a circle process, all voices are heard in turn around the circle with ground rules agreed to ensure people have their own say without interruption or challenge. And this can develop better links between staff members, ensure everyone feels valued and included. This kind of circle can be used as a regular basis simply to build a sense of belonging, with staff teams using simple check-ins and check-outs each day so that people know how best to support one another. Within such a culture, high expectations can be nourished as everyone feels more ready to take responsibility and be accountable for their actions, knowing that when mistakes are made, they will be addressed in a restorative manner and viewed as value learning experiences. So that's important. That's cool. So like, not only do we get the benefit from the circle itself, like in the learnings that we get from that specific circle and conversation that happened, but in creating a consistency of those experiences over and over again is also going to build trust. And essentially the people involved in those circles are going to like pretty much like become better and better at it every time. So what I'm imagining as like we make, the schedule of the circles that we'll be doing on this series in the new year, maybe it would be best to use or encourage a consistent group of people that would regularly meet so that we can get the same effect of pretty much like everybody building more and more trust, more and more empathy, and kind of vulnerability with each other so that we can become more effective and in these valuable learning experiences. So Snake Eye, if you're still here, something that I was just thinking about, that is a good cookie. A few weeks ago, you were talking about wanting to work on like public speaking or, I don't know, what you were saying that your work was wanting you to work on some project, and you were thinking, maybe doing one of these within your organization, like, and coming up with a schedule, maybe not weekly, maybe every 2 weeks or something. Maybe that's instead of because you were saying that your work has like Toastmasters that you can do, which would be useful for the public speaking, of course, but, the specific feedback that you said your work gave you, I think something like this would be extremely useful. And like, so it could be useful for your own practice of what you want to work on. But then it could also be useful for your organization in general. You could be launching something really incredible and useful for your organization that I'm sure they'd be grateful for. Bitcoin trying to come in. Oh, you're here. How'd you get here? Like, seriously, how did you get here? I didn't see the door open. Come here. Come say hi. Come say hi to everybody. Oh, it's too corporate to start something new. Oh, that's too bad. You could go in and say, hey, I'm ready to be boss here. I got a new program, and this is how it's going to affect our productivity. You tell them in dollar signs, and they get it. Oh, Bitcoin's like, the cookie. The cookie. Give me the cookie. I want cookie. Oh, Bitcoin, you want cookie, boy? How about your little buddy? Huh? How about your little buddy? Cutie. Well, maybe we can get you to sit with your buddy here. Sit down. Sit down, nice. Good boy. Thank you. Good boy. See, there we go. We got a Bitcoin with us now. Well, there you go, Snake Eye. They only care about the shareholders. That's true. But, okay, so that's why I say, like, whenever you pitch something like this, or pitch anything to a corporate organization for them to implement some type of change, you always have to present it with, like, the dollar signs, you know, that change is going to equate for them. So, Bitcoin, you having fun? He's like, cookie, please. Cookie, please. He needs a little matching party hat. And, so I think about this from the perspective of selling tea, right? There's some corporate accounts that we do approach in selling tea to. And when you talk to them, you really do have to, like, talk to them in terms of, like, how is this activity, it's going to cost them money. So, like, anything that's ever going to cost money, a business, you know, that's in cash flow type of a situation is going to, like, evaluate the risk and, like, is it worth the investment and whatnot. And so, productivity is something that's hard to calculate, but it's something that businesses, you know, over the past 20 years have really started to put more emphasis on. And there's, like, buzzwords around it that you can use to kind of tap into that. But, like, organizational behavior, which this is what this would be, like, aligned to, like, if you're proposing some type of activity that's going to affect how emotional intelligence is, and again, you can't measure that, but, like, companies right now, especially, like, large corporate organizations, are investing, like, that industry is, like, billions of dollars big, like, company retreats and, you know, different activities. And somehow the companies that sell those things seriously convince, I know you don't want tea, convince these corporations that it's worth their investment to spend, you know, $200,000 a year to send their executive team to a retreat somewhere for them to do some type of, like, capacity building activities with each other. Oh, wow. So your department doesn't make money. So that's interesting. So you're in a difficult place. That is a difficult place. Well, it's incredible that you have a job right now. I tell you what, if I was running an organization and there was any department not making money right now, it'd be hard to keep that rolling. I mean, that's why I'm kind of grateful that my company is so lean. It's just me and him. You know, he doesn't make much money, but he also doesn't consume much money, so Bitcoin. Just Bitcoin. Just Bitcoin. Yeah, I know it's hard. Like, and this goes back to, what was it, the third principle that this woman stated in this paper I've been reading about how you have to believe in the process in order for it to work. So, I mean, if you were to, like, let's say, Snake Eye, you were gung-ho, you come up with this great business proposal for your company about supporting you in this program. And so they're like, yeah, do it. Here's the funding. Here's this. Here's that. Here's your, you know, allowance to do this. And you start getting it going and you realize, like, you're the only person that cares and believes in that process. Yeah, you're going to be challenged. It's going to be a challenging effort, I would think. All right, so I think this paper is almost done. I'm gonna go ahead and try to tackle it before I tune off today. So this is about applying these principles in the public sector. So this is like government organization. In recent years, training in a range of restorative approaches have been offered in the UK, not only to justice professionals and in schools, but also to residential social workers and children's homes to foster careers and those who support them, to local authority behavior support staff, including educational psychologists, school welfare officers, school attendants, officers, and those supporting young people with special needs. Blah, 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 blah. However, one of the most powerful learning points for those new to restorative practice is the gradual realization that the biggest change in the practice will come about through individual personal development and embodying the changes not only in their professional lives, but also at a personal level with parents, family, and friends. This is the point at which people realize that restorative practice is not just something one does, but it is a way of being in the world. Awesome. So I guess that's like, we can call restorative practice the gung fu of civilization, of civility. From being on board to knowing how to drive the bus, the importance for leaders to be change they want to see. Oh, here, this is for us, everybody. Experiences with staff teams where their in-house use of restorative values, skills, and practice have been largely positive in my own experience and that of my own team. Many people who attend training courses are struggling at work because their staff issues and the lack of collegiality. They welcome a chance to reflect on their own needs to be able to give of their best. However, many foresee an obstacle to the adoption of this staff care model, and this obstacle is the resistance they anticipate from their middle and senior managers who have in the past been conspicuously missing from training courses. In school research, the evidence suggests that unless the head teacher is on board with the new approach, the initiative will fail. So yeah, that's related to what I was just saying, Snake Eye. Like, I mean, as a leader of it, you'd be on board, but then you've got to also encourage everybody else to get on board too. For some schools, this has meant the acquiescence of the head, who has delegated the initiative to a senior member of the team. In fact, the responsibility to drive the initiative forward has been at times laid at the door of the middle manager or perhaps someone even lower down the pecking order. Often this has come about due to a misunderstanding of what restorative practice is about. The association with the justice concept and the belief that what it is at stake is a fresh look at behavioral management. So this is relating back to what I was talking about with, organizational structures. They're usually like this, triangles. So like you have the leadership on top, they have all the power dynamic, and then it goes down from there. A lot of times, like these types of practices, like Snake Eye, what I was telling you, like companies right now are like investing a lot of money into these like capacity building activities. A lot of times, upper management, like, yeah, they're the ones that like either they read it in Harvard Business Review, or they read it or heard about it at a conference that, they need to be investing more into capacity building activities. They may delegate to like a middle manager to handle it. But what we're talking about here is a deep cultural change, a deep cultural mentality or mindset that your whole organization needs to take on in order for these types of practices to be effective. So, yeah, you can't just like pawn it off to the next guy down and say, oh, you handle it, because like everybody's a part of it. And the main champion of it should be at the top, because again, whoever's at the top is ultimately responsible for everybody's culture. Like they're not solely responsible for it, but like just like our president in the Constitution states that our president is responsible for everything that happens. Our president is not making every single decision in every single place, but they are the ones that commission. They make a decision on who is going to manage this thing or what's going to do. So at the end of the day, anything that happens can always go back to the person, that's at the top of the organization. So whoever's there has to like really be bought into it. And they also have to be that change too. They can't just delegate it to someone below. Hey, Bitcoin, go. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Bitcoin found something to scavenge on the ground. I'm like, what is that noise? And he was scavenging on the ground over here. Bad dog. Every time. Every time. Some schools do much better than this, offering training to as many middle managers and senior leaders as possible and gradually bringing a fresh approach to incidents with the necessary changes in policy, procedure, and even timetabling to ensure people to make time for the conversations and meetings that need to be held to help people resolve difficulties. Taking it a stage further, some schools are embracing the idea that the real impact of a restorative approach is when the values, skills, and principles are taught and modeled by staff in classrooms and become part of the way they teach. So, I mean, I guess this would be comparable to like what the outcome of what we're going to do would be, is that, you know, in these practices, we will come up with like mutually agreed upon solutions for different situations. And that's going to provide for us some like vocabulary and some, you know, ideology or perspectives that we would apply into the future. And so, you know, you may find your language changing and the way that you communicate changing, you know, as you're expanding these perspectives to include all of the resolutions. To return to the acceptance that the head or principal must be on board for all these practices to develop, there is another factor that has at times been ignored. This is the model of behavior given by the head himself or herself in the way that the staff team are encouraged to be with one another. It is not enough for a senior manager or leader to be on board. They need to know how to drive the bus themselves. A genuinely restorative leader would not be the only driver, of course, and here the analogy breaks down somewhat. The model they provide is one of a democratic, empathic listener, willing to listen to the team, able to support colleagues in conflict, ready to mediate between colleagues and parents' careers if need be, and modeling the use of circle processes, big and small, with external agencies, visitors, and the school board. Cool. A case study. Conclusions. Let's just jump down to the conclusion and then we'll be done. And we made it through like a full peer-reviewed article in one stream. This is incredible. And a Matcha review. This has been a very productive stream. This paper has charted the journey from the use of restorative justice as a process in the criminal justice system to the development of a restorative culture in a wide variety of settings through the application of restorative practice. It has identified the importance of ensuring that fundamental values and principles be adhered to as restorative practice is offered to an increasingly wide range of environments. This is pioneering work, and there's still a dearth of research in this field, especially on the benefits of staff themselves of restorative culture in-house. However, the types of transformation possible are not without precedent. The values, principles, and core beliefs are not unique to restorative practice, and so there will be evidence that supports our case. As had been said, what makes the offer of restorative culture and environment so compelling is its unique combination of values, principles, skills, and processes. This unique package organizationalizes better known concepts such as health, well-being at work, dignity in the workplace, anti-bullying, distributed leadership, happiness quotients, and flow. Oh, flow. We talk about flow a lot at Detox. That's cool. Our challenge as practitioners, writers, and trainers in the effort to widen the scope and reach of restorative justice to embrace approaches and practices is to ensure we do not dilute its powerful message. We do not lose its unique gifts to transform the way we respond when things go wrong between us. We do not undermine its capacity to transform justice systems across the planet. I personally believe that restorative justice is not at risk. Its practitioners and proponents have excellent evidence, experience, and passion to continue to make their own case. The ball is now in the court of those of us embracing restorative approaches and practice in our own working and personal lives to make our case, to gather our evidence, and use our passion to offer a more fulfilling way of being and of working with people in all walks of life across the globe. There we have it. Wow. That's powerful. You know, I'm happy with that article. That was a good article. It was definitely worth it to make it all the way through that article, which is good. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm gonna put together, our team, and I think by next week, Wednesday, will be the first week. We'll start our first little round circle, and start doing this process. And again, I may not be live streaming from the beginning of the process. Maybe we'll go through a couple of cycles, trying to, build that confidence and that comfortability between all of us in the circle. And then I'll find a way to share that across the stream. But yeah, this has been fun. I've had a lot of fun going over this today. Of course, drinking some matcha and eating cookies. It's not too bad either. And I learned a lot, as always. All right, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, I'm gonna say goodbye to you now. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your year. I will be streaming tomorrow from Tea Talks, so look out for that. Again, much more casual, friendly, tea time with tea friends from around the world in Utopia. Be on the lookout for that. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a beautiful evening. Pure aloha.